Hello, my name is Echo. Echo. I want to talk about Daphne Garrido um, versus the United States of America. Because I am still legally Daphne Garrido. And I don't really feel like doing the whole legal name change again yet, especially because the government is legally liable for my complete downfall. The executive branch put inhumane, unconstitutional executive orders into writing about transgender women in very specific targeting. And it doubled down on my existence as a predator. And then that echoed into all of the systems of our government, and they removed repositories of information about transgender people, literal knowledge, wisdom burning online about my existence. And that has manifested into the minds of ignorance everywhere and emboldened a ideological thrust that has focused specifically on trans women above all trans people as mentally disabled by right of their belief in their feminine spirit. And it's the most insulting thing ever, and it has manifested thrice-fold into my life because I've been abused through relationship, I have been abused through community, I've abused through family, physically, mentally, emotionally. And I have had a disability come upon me through that torturous abuse, which then had me reaching out for help with systems that abused me further, with complete lack of acceptance of my non-denominational spiritual right to choose whether or not I want to do your pharmaceutical medicines. There is nothing in law that says I have to. But there is no place in society for someone that does not have support from family, that's not willing to do exactly what is prescribed from a science that is a working science within a container that's grasping at straws and gets stuff sometimes, but is by and large completely wrong by my own body's intelligence's estimation. And I know I don't have logic, but I have infinite creative rationality from my DNA coming into my communication. It sounds very much like a crazy schizophrenic person, doesn't it? I got a letter from a schizophrenic person off the street a long time ago, and it's like, I have 800,000 million words of information in my brain. It's like, wow, dude, that's intense. I read through it all. I'm glad I did. Guess what? I see pattern workings of the universe like they do. But I see that as a sign for me to be like, hey, I'm a schizophrenic person. Sometimes I say stuff that sounds highly delusional and triggering. But I'm telling you, I believe our DNA has the codes to the universe in it. There's all these spiritual people who are like, hey, I channel the Akashic records. And they find some way to tap into something, and they pull stuff through that really helps people. But it's transmuted through a creative channel. And it's warped by what's going on. And my creative channel is powerfully abundant, but powerfully warped by my station in society as a trans woman. And there's no understanding of this, and that's fine. I understand it. I have beliefs, I have rights as a human being that have been completely disregarded by the world at large because of my disability, who has then used the consequences and my disability itself to wield back as punishment and to push into a hole and to give absolutely no options until they have been, I've been reaching out for help from family, from friends, from anyone, from people who have restraining orders on me, from families of people who I knew, from all over the place, doing it to everybody. One Truth Finder subscription does damage, dude. And it also gives you a lot of really incorrect phone numbers and email addresses. So, hello, everyone, there's a disabled person who is a metaphorical angel, who's a metaphorical oracle. I'm not a metaphorical oracle, I'm an oracle. I'm sorry, that's what my representation of mental schizophrenia was in the past. Somebody who needed to be taken care of, somebody who needed to have a place, and that they would create things that they pulled through from their DNA intelligence. Okay, that's a little bit of a swerve, but guess what? This is the problem. America has nothing for that because Christianity thinks I'm a devil. So, the Washington state doesn't even protect vulnerable adults with mental disabilities, period. You have to have a physical disability. When I talk to somebody at Washington state's Vulnerable Adult Protection Agency, or whatever it's called, Adult Protective Services, they were like, no, you're basically not, you don't apply. And then when I asked them like where else I could go, they're like, there's like this home services place. They probably won't help you either. They only help people who like can't even go to the bathroom. They're like, you sound okay though. Schizophrenic people usually can't even talk. That's what they literally said to me. This is how backwards and upside down our world is. That the rightness I have of what's going on with me is seen as entirely delusion. And it's like, yo, dude, I have a foot in delusional creativity and I'm riding it and I'm pulling myself back out at every moment. How? I've healed with honesty down to the core of my body. I've healed through so much of my trauma. And so I project, and I still have delusions of projection through my heartful trauma of a life lived unloved. And so that's real. And here we are, isolated on the brink of homelessness, still have the high capacity to be an amazing connection of relationship that is profound and steering and guiding of heart to my daughter. I just don't have logic. I have all the playtime and coloring sessions and reading stories and snuggling and best times in the world with my daughter. If people will let me get a place to live with my mental disability. But this whole world has trained everyone to Google search results schizophrenia and say, hey dude, you need antipsychotics, you need constant talk therapy, you might need shock treatment. When we look it all up, what happens? Oh no, we're just fucking brains up with antipsychotics and shock treatment that is making executive dysfunction even worse. Executive dysfunction is why I'm yelling right now, because I'm living through high trauma, and so I'm communicating through it boldly. What I'm saying here is, whoever's listening, I've been making offers. Hey, here's an offer of abundance. I can write like a maniac. Here's an offer of abundance. I can speak about transness and schizophrenia. I can create a home for schizophrenics that changes the world in the future. Here's an offer. I have the court case of the motherfucking century. It's about non-denominational beliefs that have no place in society, even though they're completely legal, and that people will genocide you for it, and that they also double down on a trans woman, and the results are very, very telling, because I'm a great parent who is abused. And I'm here to stand up to all of it without feelings, because I've burnt my feelings out, not into psychosis, into the full spectrum of human emotion, and I'm holding it all. And that's badass. And I'm a fucking genius in my creative rationality, but it's a force of will to keep me churning this way from my subconscious. I need rest. I am being traumatized to fight. If one family would take me in, if somebody would offer me a house, a room in a home without berating me about pills. Nobody's made that offer. When I tell people about needing a place to stay potentially, or help staying here, they're just like, hey, have you heard about the antipsychotics? Have you heard about my pills? Like, dude, have you heard about the things that I read when I went to school? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I have. Trust me, I have. And I'm done with it. Because this is the most inhumane situation ever. And it's torture, and I have documented it so thoroughly, it's ridiculous. And it will make a fortune. I'll do it myself, but I'm going to find somebody to help me, okay? And that's the thing. People who have restraining orders on me, you will be included. There's multiples. So if you're one of them and you're like, hey, maybe I help. Yeah, take it down. Help me stay in this home, perhaps. And then I won't have like a murder body response that doesn't manifest in violence, but manifests in angry words about how my life has been taken in part by your complete disregard of my humanity. That's what happens. I'm a nonviolent person, but our bodies sometimes get so offended by the horror that they're going through that they feel murderous rage. I have to deal with that and purge it. And so how do you purge that when you're a nonviolent person? You say the meanest, sickest shit you can. My mother has triggered that more than anyone and has heard the most horrendous things over again. It's always about Satan and his giant something and something for eternity in something with something being something. And that's how it goes when you traumatize a schizophrenic person who doesn't give a shit. And that's what's going on. Bad words. But guess what? All of it, legally, not my problem. Because nobody helped me once. Because it's the consequences of my disability untreated by the means they literally need to be treated with, multiplied by my transness's genocide. Okay, have a good one. Call me.